It's time for our predictions for the Final Four. But before we get to that, let's take a look at our record so far. We got off to a great start in the first 2 rounds, went 4-4 in the Sweet 16, and 2-2 in the Elite 8. Of course, that could have been 3-1 if Duke would have held on and won that game against UConn. But I'm not bitter about that because, as I've been mentioning, I fill out multiple brackets. And I put my list of contenders as champions in at least one of those brackets. But regardless, this was either the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. As much as I'd like to win my bracket pool, this was a very exciting, very thrilling way to end this game. And this is what we all love about March Madness. So while I was upset about my bracket getting busted, I was very excited to see that ball go in with half a second to go. Here's a list of contenders, and on the ESPN bracket challenge, as I mentioned, I fill out 25 brackets. My Tier 1 and Tier 2 contenders are champions on at least 2 brackets each, but now we're down to these 4 teams: Michigan, Arizona, Connecticut, and Illinois. And it turns out my Illinois bracket has the highest potential. It's already in the 99.4 percentile. Let's check out the Kenpom stats for Friday, April 3rd. And look at the net ratings over here. 38.95 for Michigan, 38.92 for Arizona. This is so close. Can't wait for this game. The number 1 and number 2 defensive rated teams and the number 4 and 5 offensive rated teams. People are calling this a national championship. Of course, it's not. But when people say that, of course, what they're saying here is that the winner of this game is likely to be a heavy favorite in the championship game. Down here with Illinois at 34.32, the number 1 offensive rated team in the country, their number 20 defensive rated team. Their defense is looking better in the tournament. And down here at the bottom, Connecticut, 29.2. They have a top 10 defense, but their offense is 26. And I'll talk about Connecticut's offense later in this video. I do have a criterion here for the Final Four. If the Kenpom net rating difference is greater than 5.0, then the higher rated team wins 9.9% of the time. They're 10-1 in the last 10 years. Now that's a relatively small sample size, and this does not say the higher seeded team. It just means a team that has a higher net rating. If that gap is over 5, that team wins 90.9% of the time. So it seems pretty obvious at this point, but let's check out the differences here. Illinois is 5.12 points better than Connecticut in the net rating. So Illinois is the team that satisfies that criterion. And down here at the bottom, Michigan is 0.03. That's hardly an edge at all over Arizona. Let's take a look at the Kenpom predictions for the Final Four. On the bottom left here, we have Illinois 73-69 over UConn. That's the earlier game on Saturday. On the bottom right here, we have Michigan 79.64 to 79.62 over Arizona. Now again, they're not going to go out to 2 decimal places. That just shows that Michigan is very slightly favored over Arizona according to the Kenpom ratings. So we have an all Big Ten championship game here on Monday night. Michigan versus Illinois. And who's going to win according to Kenpom? It's Michigan 80-77 over Illinois. So Michigan is your national champion according to the Kenpom stats as of Friday, April 3rd. Now this is typically where I end the show, but I have a more detailed breakdown of the Illinois-UConn game. If you want to stick around for that, that's coming up next. The details are the 4 factors. This all started with Dean Oliver's book, Basketball on Paper. The offensive rating and defensive rating that Kenpom uses is also from the Dean Oliver book. I highly recommend that book. Not a lot of people talk about these 4 factors, but it definitely gives you a more detailed view of how these teams match up. So let's check this out here. Here are the 4 factors. Effective field goal percentage. That's not just the 2-pointers made, but also the 3-pointers made with an extra half a point given to the 3-pointers. Because half of a 2-pointer is +1, that's a 3-pointer. Of course, you want that number to be high. TOV percentage is turnover percentage. That's how often the offense turns the ball over. You want that number to be low. ORB is offensive rebound percentage. Of course, you want that number to be high as well. That extends a possession. It doesn't create a new possession. It just extends the current one. And FTR is the free throw rate. That's how many times a team goes to the free throw line per field goal attempt. This is the least important factor of all 4 of these. The most important factor is the effective field goal percentage. So here are the numbers for Illinois. Illinois has the number 1 offensive rated team in the country. How is that? Well, their effective field goal percentage is not bad. It's about 30-something in the country. But their turnover percentage, 10.6, is very low, which is good. It's like 10th in the country. And their offensive rebounding percentage of 39.0 is 3rd in the country, which is very good. So it's really these 2 stats in the middle, which makes Illinois' offensive efficiency number 1 in the country. Think about this for a second here. If the turnover rate is low, that means they're going to get their shot off. If the offensive rebounding percentage is high, that means they get a second shot. But at any rate, if they don't turn the ball over and they get a lot of offensive rebounds, then they're very efficient at getting shots. So let me introduce you to a stat here that not a lot of people talk about. Number of shots per 100 possessions, is shot efficiency. Illinois is at 92.6. In other words, out of 100 possessions, 93% of the time, they're taking a shot. They're not throwing away their shot. And that's very good. For Connecticut, their offensive 4 factors are 55.0 for effective field goal percentage, 13.2 for the turnovers. That's definitely higher than Illinois. 33.9 for offensive rebounds. That's not bad, but not anywhere near Illinois. And 21.7 for the free throw rate. So in fact, all 4 of these numbers here are worse than Illinois. Again, Illinois is the number 1 rated offense in the country, and Connecticut is number 26. Illinois definitely has a better offense. And of course, if you're talking about the offense, you have to talk about the defense. Now check this out at the bottom here. Illinois' defensive 4 factors. When you compare these to the offense here, you want the opposite to happen. If they have a high effective field goal percentage, you want that to be lower. That means they're limiting their opponents to 47.4% effective field goal percentage. And of course, you want their turnover rate to be higher. You want their defense to turn the other team over. But this is really wild down here. At 9.6, Illinois' defense is ranked 365 out of 365 teams. They're dead last in turning the other team over. That's crazy. Their offensive rebound percentage for the other team is 25.5, and the free throw rate is very low. This is actually good over here. Illinois' defense is currently ranked 20th in the nation. For UConn's defense over here, we have effective field goal percentage of 46.0. That's not bad at all. 15.1 for the turnover percentage. That means they turn the other team over more often, and that's exactly what they did to Duke to win that game. 25.8 for the offensive rebound percentage and 29.1 for the free throw rate. But for all these 16 numbers, what matters is the offense versus the defense. Take Illinois' top-rated offense against Connecticut's 9th-rated defense. And of course, you do the same thing for the Connecticut offense versus Illinois defense. So here are my predictions using the 4-factor model. For the first game, we have Illinois winning 70-68 over UConn. So that agrees with the Kenpom prediction model. The Kenpom prediction was 73-69 for Illinois. But what I found really exciting here is this model predicts Arizona to win 79-78 over Michigan. Now, it's definitely not a good idea to keep doing a model until you get the prediction that you want. That's called bias. However, I really feel strongly about Arizona winning this game, and I think they're going to be the national champion. Good luck in the Final Four. Can't wait for these games on Saturday night. And of course, the national championship game on Monday. Let's go!